presenters for this one. So Sarah Khalifa will be speaking first. She's our senior research scientist at CSIRO's Data 61, and she'll be joined by Peter Borgmeister, a principal research scientist, also with CSIRO's Data 61. So take it away, team.
Thanks, Kai. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. And you're clear. Thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Khalifa. I'm a research scientist with the Embedded Intelligence team led by Phil Valencia, who gave one of the very interesting presentations earlier today. And I'm very pleased to do this presentation jointly with Peter Baumgartner, where we will talk about maintaining visibility of products, moving through the supply chain, and detecting fraud in an affordable way. This piece of work has been done in collaboration with Beef Ledger Company in Queensland, where we had several conversations to understand their industry perspective and requirements, as well as we had real-world experiments collecting real data for validation. Here we focus on the transport of boxed meat, when the meat leaves the processing facility and being transported for delivery to market or distributing points. And to maintain visibility within this part, we use sensor technology, which, as we know, one of the most promising technologies impacting supply chain. Sensor technology can bring supply chain to life, giving greater transparency throughout the whole supply chain by uncovering blind spots and enabling real-time tracking of any kind of goods with real-time alerts. However, sensor technology usually involves long-term continuous sensing from power-consuming sensors, such as GPS, accelerometer, temperature, and so on, which put further pressure on the limited battery life of sensor nodes. So if the sensor runs out of battery in the middle of the process, the vision of sensor technology is not achieved. Therefore, energy-neutral sensing is critical to realizing this vision. To achieve energy-neutral sensing, we use vibration energy harvesting to generate energy from the physical movement of goods throughout the supply chain. Most importantly, we use energy harvesting not only as a power source, but information too, specifically to reveal when fraud or anomalous interaction with the supply chain assets occur. We achieve that through machine learning-based approach, where we collect VH patterns representing both normal and anomalous trips, and apply signal processing and feature extraction for training an anomaly classification model. In this case, vibration energy harvesting serves the dual purpose of generating power as well as saving sensor-related power consumption by acting as a proxy for power-consuming sensors towards the ultimate goal of battery-less self-powered sensors. For this purpose, we developed hardware which uses piezoelectric material. This material, when it vibrates, it generates or produces alternating current proportional to the applied vibration. The development was led by Carl, who gave presentation earlier in this session. And the developed hardware can operate in the strict cooling requirements for transporting meat products and support real-time communication through gateways. As mentioned earlier, we partnered with Beef Ledger Company in Queensland, where our sensor devices are packed in the meat box as seen here. And the experiments were carried out on one of Beef Ledger transport roads here in Brisbane between Morningside and anomaly. The experiments were designed where the vehicle drives from source to destination directly, representing normal delivery trip, as well as simulating tampering or substitution event in the middle of the journey, representing anomalous event. In total, we collected 1,500 plus minutes of normal data and 400 plus minutes of anomalous data. Here we focus on low-level signal processing of vibration sensing for tempering or substitution anomaly detection. And we show here both accelerometer patterns as the conventional way of measuring vibration, as well as our proposed vibration energy harvesting patterns in the form of electric voltage. And as we see, the electric voltage shown in blue here show a representative signature of the movement activity, including driving versus stop periods, as well as the substitution or the tampering anomaly event as part of the anomalous trip, which makes vibration energy harvesting a rich information source to achieve energy neutral sensing. And actually, the results of using such novel source were really promising, where we achieved comparable accuracy, plus 90% of substitution anomaly detection, using vibration energy harvesting patterns compared to conventional accelerometer sensors. However, with energy harvesting patterns, we have less consumed energy as compared to conventional accelerometer, as well as we have enough energy harvested from the movement of goods to support continuous operation using this novel technology. Now we take one step forward to achieve anomaly detection using logic-based approach where no machine learning required, with high-level absolute values of location and temperature data. Hand over to you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So I'm Peter Baumgartner. I'm talking about this logic-based approach, which is complementary to the machine-based approach, but we work on the same kind of experiment, the same kind of data set. So we have this beef ledger type of setup where we have boxes on trucks moved to A to B, and we have sensors like temperature, and we have GPS coordinates, and possibly we have paperwork as well. And with this logic-based approach, the idea is to address more like a situational awareness type of problems. Things like being able to answer questions like, are the cooling requirements satisfied? And if not, what is the impact on the quality or on the price, if it is not the case? But for the purpose of the rest of this slide, I emphasize that, for instance, we can be concerned with questions about tampering with boxes. And this is a hard problem for various reasons. And one of them is because the sensor data may be less than perfect, so incomplete, noisy, erroneous, or maybe it arrives out of order. So this is something we have to deal with. And in order to answer these kind of high-level questions, we need much more information. So at the very least, we need to know where our warehouses put on the map. We need maybe information if the events are to be processed or understood in the context of being at a warehouse or during transport. And also we may need other domain knowledge in order to figure out what tampered could mean for a computer. But supposedly we have all this information together. We should be able to put all the sensor data and the domain knowledge in context and give answers like the following, to say that, okay, we have no sensor data at the warehouse, but this is possibly not a problem because at the warehouse, the boxes might have been delivered. Whereas if sensor data happened during there's no sensor data during transport. This is a problem, possibly because we could have a tempered situation, or it was just an innocent sensor dropout. Now, this is the kind of conclusions we are after. And the AI area that is concerned with doing these things is automated reasoning, logic-based inference, and this is why we are using a logic-based inference system approach to draw these conclusions, which has some non-standard features. So it tolerates sensor data gaps, and it can model cause and effect relationships in context, like the ones shown here on the right, and it can compute multiple plausible explanations. If we don't have information enough, so it's maybe the best guess is to say this could be the case or that could be the case. And on the next slide, I would show a little bit more how we do that, which is by logical inference with if-then rules. So if-then rules are tiny pieces of knowledge, if this, then that express simple things about the domain, like if a box left A, then it must arrive at B. Very simple things, but of course, computers so stupid must be told about everything. And the idea is to use an inference engine to string all these things together with the facts to come up with useful conclusions. So this is a bit like chess playing, maybe. That's a good analogy. It's a search through all these things. And I will not explain too much detail how this works, but I can give you some usage examples for that. So one of them would be to fix with GPS dropouts. Say if we know that at 5:10 the box is on the truck, at 6:10 we have a GPS signal from a truck only, and a minute later we again have by GPS that the box is on the truck. So what's the reasonable thing to do there? Maybe, a reasonable thing might be to conclude that at 6:10 the box was on the truck because it's just a short amount of time and it's unreasonable to suspect some tampering. And we can describe that by just adding a little rule, which unfortunately is only allowed to shine through a little bit here because I do not have time to explain all that in detail. But I want to say that it can be done with a relatively straightforward way of saying that here. Now, it's important to get this fix of the events correct because we want to work on top of it and do some anomaly detection. And I just have two kind of things here. One is the behaves differently anomaly, where we monitor normal things over time and try to single out what is not normal about those. So if you have four boxes, say, together clustered, and after a while only one has disappeared, and after a while later one has come back, this could indeed be something to look into. For instance, it could mean that the box was moved to the cabin. Another thing is not the behaves, but there is different anomaly. So if there are all these boxes clustered together, but one has a little bit of a yellow face and it trembles and it's a little bit off, then this would be abnormal just by looking at to how the rest is. So whatever that would be something worth checking, possibly. And the point is that this can be done without machine learning, just by comparing one thing to the other, either statically or over time. Yeah. Of course, we can also do more standard things like, say, comparing the expected cooling temperatures with the actual cooling temperatures and derive a price from that. But this is more like standard stuff, I would say, and I'm more interested in this anomaly detection based on rules here. So, but why did I tell you that? Well, from an application perspective, it's of course not really relevant how we do that, but I would like to make the point that it has certain benefits. And in the end, it's so that with a better theory, you can build a better tool and build a better product that supports the application domain better. So this would be the kind of thinking behind that. Now, we have implemented the system, and I just wanted to give you a brief impression of how that works. So this is a screenshot. It has various segments. On the right are the events as they come in, and the system does a little bit more. It finds out, say, that boxes have been put on a truck and are transported, and that they have arrived at a warehouse. And on the left is a dashboard showing you all these warnings and anomalies that I have talked about in the previous slide here. Okay. And that takes me to my conclusions. So in this talk, we have one set of problem, analyzing event data, and we through two kinds of techniques to it, machine learning and logic-based. Of course, they're complementary, but they could also add on top of each other. The whole development was driven by practice, and it's really meant to be reusable from the core up. So we would be keen to look at other applications of that, whatever they might be. And this is why we really would be happy to give more demos and talk to you if that would be of interest. Okay. Finally, this is also, thank you slide here. If you want to make it.
Thank you, Peter and Sarah. That was great. And for keeping to time, we've got one question that we missed on the previous discussion, but I think it fits, Peter, in some of your area of expertise because it's anomalies. So we've had a question about what happens if there's a drought and animals are dying. do customers find out, thinking back to the previous thing, because that has big commercial implications. And I think to some degree your anomalous discovery is seeking to identify those sorts of things as early on in the activity as possible. But did you just want to tackle that as a question at all around how we might be able to assist?
Ooh, I'm not sure I fully understood the scenario that was described.
Oh, so we were talking before around animals being having trust and reputation in the values that we transmit across our supply chains.
Sure.
What happens if it's bad news? What if we transmit bad news, and how far would we send that bad news? Right to the next buyer?
Well, I think I can answer that only in a general sense. Of course, if you can learn from the past and build that into the system and glue it into rules so that you're better prepared when a similar situation comes up the next time, you can try to identify it by these rules, maybe in a different way, and report about the consequences that you found last time. So yeah, that would certainly also be within the reach of this technology.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think the other thing is that what's the relationship look like at the moment? How are people behaving at the moment? And I think we've got a same comment along those lines. What happens if the company has a good business relationship? Then we detect the problem suddenly, and then it impacts. We have a massive contract that we've lost, and then the supply chain's informed. So I think the intention whenever we apply technology to solutions is to really enhance the messaging that's happening for the supply chain. So it's not meant to undermine and cause problems. It's meant to identify solutions early and fix that. So appreciate that the commercial sensitivities about the technology is important. Sarah, I might direct that to you because you've been involved with a real supply chain participant in your activity, and they were able to give you some real life indications of what was effective and not so for them. Did they talk to you about that as part of your traceability? You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a black screen?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So yeah, based on the discussion with Beef Ledger, we understood that detecting anomalies during transport, especially as they transport boxed meat, is of high interest for them. So based on the discussion, they seem to be interested in temperature anomaly, but not in detecting temperature anomaly, because we know that there are available technology which can track temperature of goods moving throughout the supply chain. But their interest was in how this temperature can feed into their pricing model and shelf lifetime, of those products. So how long they stay on shelf, and based on that, decide offers or promotion to sell, these products quickly.
So sort of taking that potentially bad news, utilizing it in advance because you've got early warning, and then converting that into something that you can work with, similar to how you would handle a relationship.
Yes.
We've also got a question around if the problems aren't identified and aren't shared along the supply chain, there could be instances of food poisoning, drugs not being kept to a certain temperature. It's important that the technologies become available. So that was just a comment back around the technology and its adoption. And I think they're really valuable points. I think that we absolutely agree. Testing with a large commercial processing company is important for this. And we weren't able to work with the big players as much as we would have liked to, just because of COVID and restrictions to site. So they certainly have interest in the technologies that we've been looking at, and we need to absolutely identify future partners. Now, I'm just mindful of time. I think we said that we'd be finishing at this time. So thank you all for attending.